Thank you, Colonel Babuji, Professor CSR Prabhuji, Lalita ji, and other participants. I am happy that I have been associated with this Brahma Yajna, and I think this is the second Satra of this Brahma Yajna or the Saraswat Yajna that has been started by the efforts of Colonel Babuji, Professor CSR Prabhu, and others. So I could also get some chance to offer my oblations into this Brahma Yajna. As we all know, Vedas, they are the ancient most books of humanity on the globe. And Vedas are also known as Brahma. Similarly, Vedas are also known as the source of dharma. Manu says, Vedo Akhilo Dharma Moolam. And this course also belongs to Sanatana Dharma. So it is very important to know about dharma itself in Vedic technical terms, in Indian philosophical technical terms. Dharma is not a religion. Dharma is not some communal idea. It's not some sect, but dharma has a different connotation so far as the Vedas and Vedic philosophy is concerned. The first definition, thus some symptoms of dharma, lakshana of dharma, were given by Manu himself, the first lawgiver of mankind. And he says, Dhriti, Kshama, Damo, Asteyam, Shaucham, Indriya Nigraha, Dhira Vidya, Satyam, Akrodho, Dashkam, Dharma Lakshanam. He says that these 10 things, Dhriti, Kshama, Dama, Asteya, Shauch, Indriya Nigraha, Vidya, means all moral, ethical values, the knowledge system, the knowledge, the Vidya, all these dharmas, the duties, they are called dharma. So if we translate these Vedic technical terms or the Indian philosophical technical terms, they cannot be translated into other languages. So, because no technical term should be translated, but now the trend is going on that we are translating all technical terms and we translate dharma as a religion. So, the very meaning, the very essence of dharma is lost. So, all moral, ethical values, and whatever is to be known by knowledge, that is dharma. The duties of human beings towards their family, towards their society, towards nation, and towards this atmosphere. So that is also known dharma. Dharma is the very essence of a thing, and if that is taken out, the existence of the thing becomes endangered, just like the heat is the dharma of fire. And if heat is taken out of fire, it is no more fire. Similarly, the moral, ethical values, the human values are the dharma of a human being. And if these values are taken out of the human being, he is as better as animal being. So dharma is the very essence, and we cannot compare dharma with the modern day religion. Similarly, Ved is not a religious book in the present sense of term, just like Quran is the religious book of Islam, or this Bible is the religious book of Christianity. Similarly, Ved is not the religious book of Hindus. And Veda is the Dharma book of Dharma, no doubt, but it is not the religious book. And a book of Dharma contains all scientific values. It is a book of all true sciences. Akhilo Dharma Moolam. It's a book of science. It's a book of knowledge. What Yaska says. Yask, one of the ancient most Vedic scholar, he just no, this Manu says it. And similarly, Yask also says, Sakshata Krita Dharmanaha Rishayo Babhu. There were born seers in the beginning of the creation who could visualize this dharma, and te sakshat krita dharma upadeshena mantran sampradhu, and they passed on this knowledge, this mantras, to those seers who could not realize that dharma. So that dharma has been equated with the Veda itself. Similarly, in Vaisheshika Darshan, also the Kanad, Maharshi Kanada, he defines dharma and he says, Yato abhyudayaha nishraya siddhi sadharma. All those properties of objects, entities, padarthas, all those properties of padarthas, by the knowledge of them, one can alleviate his life, the mundane life, this practical life in human life, because if we know the properties of the padarthas or entities in the world, by utilizing them, we can bring prosperity, we can bring comfort for us. And another sentence he says, Yato Abhyudaya and Nishraya Siddhi. And after that, when we enjoy all this material world life, then a seer will realize that these material things are nothing, and he becomes introvert. He starts seeing inside and he realizes the self. So this dharma, this knowledge of the thing, is the cause both for social progress, prosperity, and that paramarthika, moksha. So similarly, in Mimamsa Darshan also, Mimamsakara, he defines dharma and he says, Chodana Lakshano Varathu Dharmaha. Here, the Chodana means Veda, because the Veda was received by seers with the inspiration of God, so that is known as Chodana. And he says, Chodana Lakshano Arthu Dharma, the figurative meaning, the allegorical meaning of the Vedas is Dharma. So means the subject matter of Vedas is the Dharma itself. So that this Veda is the book of Dharma, is not the book of religion. And similarly, when we think about the word Veda itself, we find that this Veda word is formed of four types of roots. One is vid, jnane, vid to know. Another is vidlari labhe, means with to attain. And third one is vid sattayam, with to exist. And the fourth one is vid vicharane, with to think. In fact, all these four meanings, they are very much suitable to the Veda itself. With jnane, with to know. So Ved is the book of knowledge. Vidlari labhe, or with to attain. This Vedic knowledge was attained by seers in their samadhi, and with sattaya means with to exist. This knowledge pertains to this existing universe itself. It's not some universe that we have not seen, but this existing universe, it addresses the problem of this existing universe. And with vicharane, because the mantras, when Yask etymologizes the word mantra, he says mantraha mananat. So they are the subject matter of the thought process. So Veda Vicharane, this Veda cannot be heard or written or learned in a very simple way, but only the process, it can be gained. This knowledge can be gained by pondering over, by meditation, through yoga. So, all these four roots are very much applicable to the word Veda. And now, after defining the Veda and the Dharma, because these two things are important to understand Veda. Not only these two things, but there are so many technical terms associated with this system of knowledge, the Vedic system, which are most essential to know the actual or factual meaning of the Vedas. So, the first two things I have defined, dharma and the Veda. Now, the subject matter of the Veda, as I told, this Veda pertains to the knowledge of the existing universe. If we study Bhagavad Gita, we find a shloka in Bhagavad Gita. There, Sri Krishna says Arjuna, Triguna Vishayo Vedaha, Naistraigunno Bhava Arjuna. He says to Arjuna that these Vedas deal with the Trigunatmaka Srishti, deal with the creation formed of three gunas. These three gunas are Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So the Vedas, they deal with the creation formed out of the three gunas of a Prakriti in its Vishamavastha. And he further says, you will have to rise about this Prakriti, these three gunas, because only that state of liberation where you are not going to be affected by the death or by the due to the loss of your dear and near ones, that state can is a state of jivan mukta or videha mukta yogi. So that state can be attained if you rise about these three gunas. So Krishna also in Bhagavad Gita clearly points out that the subject matter of Veda is this creation itself, and no doubt this creation includes involves the spiritual aspect also, adhyatmic aspect also, adidaivic, astronomical or astrophysical aspect also, as well as adibhautic aspect, this laukic aspect also. These are involved when we talk about or when we just mention the word creation. Now the question is, this knowledge, how this knowledge was attained by the seers in the beginning of creation itself, as we know. And one more thing is associated with the Veda is Vedaha apaurushaya. This knowledge is apaurushaya. This knowledge does not belong to any scientist or a human being. This knowledge belongs to the Brahman himself, the Paramatma himself, or the God himself. How is it the knowledge of Brahman? You know, I give a simple example. Suppose if a potter is there and he makes a pot. So the pot is the creation of the potter, and the knowledge of that pot will be the knowledge of that potter. Similarly, if there is a engineer, mechanical engineer, and he develops some machine, so the that engineer will be the author of that machine, will be the creator of that machine, and the knowledge of the machine will be assigned, the authorship of that knowledge of that machine will be assigned to that engineer. Similarly, this creation is this creation is the creation of God. The God or Brahman is the author of this creation. So the knowledge of the creation, it will be assigned to the God himself. And in our philosophical tradition, Vedic philosophical tradition, knowledge is known as a dharma, as I told, and dharma belongs to its dharmi. If quality is there, guna is there, so that guna will belong to the guna itself. So that dharma, that knowledge system, because he is all knowledge, this knowledge is dharma, and this knowledge dharma will belong to the dharmi. So the creator of the knowledge is God himself. God is dharmi, the Brahma is dharmi, and the knowledge is dharma. That way also, the knowledge of the creation belongs to the God, because the authorship of creation is by God, and no other scientist or no other yogi in this world, he can create the universe. That is why, because Ved is the knowledge of creation. So, because it is the knowledge of creation, so its authorship will go to the God himself and nobody claim it. So that is why Vedas are called apaurushaya. And similarly, how this knowledge was created? When a pot is created or a machine is created by the engineer, whenever it is created, its knowledge comes into being in the universe the very moment. Similarly, when this creation was created by God, the knowledge of the creation also came to exist at the very moment. And now the question is, who is able to understand that knowledge? Who is able to visualize that knowledge? Suppose one potter, one engineer, he creates something, and another engineer with similar aptitude and knowledge, he may be able to imbibe it, what he has done. So the seers in the beginning, who were born in the beginning, they were all devas, they were all seers who were in moksha in the previous life. So, as per Indian knowledge system, the knowledge never evolves, it devolves. It is at the climax in the beginning because it has been directly delivered by the expert, then it goes on degenerating. You know, today also you find the Vedic mantras. So exalted mantras are there, the swara system, so many things. You can't write even a single mantra today. No doubt, Tulsidas can write Tulsi Ramayana, but no scholar today till date dared to write a mantra as similar system as the mantra is there. So now when after mantra we find the other literature, we find Sanskrit shlokas, even shlokas by Acharya Shankar and so many other Kannada scholars, seers, they could create aphorisms. Panini also could create aphorisms, but no seer himself create the Vedic mantra. So this proves that in the beginning, whatever the knowledge was handed over to us, it was by some seers, and that those seers visualized this knowledge of creation in the creation itself, and they handed over it to the future generations, just as the Yaska narrates this history. Sakshat Krita Dharmanaha Rishayo Babhu. Because dharma, they realized that dharma, and that dharma belongs to the dharmi, to the Brahman himself, and they pass it on to the future generation. So this is how this knowledge in the beginning it was imbibed. But how can the knowledge can be visualized? This thing has been clearly mentioned in Yoga Darshan itself, because Yoga Darshan is it provides us a methodology to elevate oneself, to disembody oneself, or to attain moksha. Just like Sankhya Darshan talks about the embodiment of a human being, embodiment of the soul, the its counterpart, that Yoga Darshan, it talks about the disembodiment, how to come out of this body, how to attain moksha. And during that process, at one place, uh, Patanjali says, Nirvichar Vaisharadye Adhyatma Prasadaha. When a yogi attains perfection in nirvichara samadhi. What is nirvichara samadhi? A state of mind in which a yogi can meditate even without the contents. And in that state of mind, only the sattva predominates, and all thoughts are cleared out. So, at that state of mind, Patanjali further says, Ritambhara tatra prajnaha. In that state of mind, a yogi attains Ritambhara prajnaha. Rita means the laws of creation. Prajna means buddhi. He attains such a buddhi where he imbibes all, understands all the laws of creation, and in that state of Ritambhara Prajnaha, the seers in the beginning, they imbibe the knowledge of the Veda. You know, even after understanding, hearing this knowledge, or seeing this knowledge, it cannot be understood by so many people. That is why in medieval times, there was a tradition, and the scholars started saying, Nirarthakaha mantraha. This has been stated, this has been quoted by Yask himself, and they started saying that these mantras are nirarthak, they are meaningless. Why they said it? In its answer has been given in the Rig Veda itself. One of the Rigvedic mantras says, Utatvaha Pashan Dadarsha Vacham Utatvaha Shranumannakshanotyenam Utu Utvasmai Tanvam Visasre Jayev Patye Ushati Suvasaha. He says, there are some people who cannot see the this Veda or this creation by seeing it. On the other hand, there are some other persons who cannot hear. Even the vibrations of the Veda are there in the cosmos, but they cannot hear these vibrations of the Veda. And only a yogi, the Veda unfolds itself to a yogi, just like the wife unfolds herself to the husband. So he wants to say the Ved is known as the Vak. What is Vak? Ved is the Vak of a Brahman. Vak here means the information of creation that is existing in Brahman. Just like the seed is there, and in the seed, the information of tree is there. When we are going to sow the seed and give its a proper climate for its growth, then the same tree will grow out of that seed. Similarly, Ved is the Vak of Brahman. Ved is the information of the creation in Brahman, and when he do sankalpa, or when he thinks of creating universe, the same universe will be created from that Vak. So in a way, we can say that Veda is a speech, and this creation is the expression of that speech. On the other hand, we can say the creation is there, and the creation's work is Veda. So these are interrelated. And one more thing, when this creation takes place, we know there are four Vedas. There is a Yajur Veda, there is a Shama Veda, there is a Rig Veda, Atharva Veda. So how this Vak was classified into one Veda, into three Vedas, into four Vedas, because the tradition says Eko Veda. The knowledge is one, and further the tradition says Trayo Veda, and it talks about Vidya. So, what are those three Vedas and four Sanghitas we have? Just to understand this, we will have to understand the three things. Number one, Veda. Number two, Yajna. And number three, Itihas and Purana. Veda is the knowledge of creation, and Yajna is the process of creation, and Itihas and Purana is the history of creation. Presently, the definition of Itihas and Puran has changed to some extent, but in early definitions of Itihas and Puran that were given by the scholar, it was Sargasya, Pratisargasya, Vansho, Manvantarani cha, Vanshanucharitam chaiva Purana Panchalakshanam. Means creation, decreation, the genealogies of these constellations. Their Vansh or Vanshanuchari doesn't belong to the historical people, but the genealogies of the constellations, the stars, heavenly bodies, and Manvantra, the time reckoning system. It was the subject matter of Puranas, and that is why the scholars used to say, Itihas Purana Bhyam Vedam Samupabranghait. Means one can understand or elucidate Vedas with the help of the Itihas and Purana. Just like when a teacher he teaches in the class or some scientific knowledge system he deals with, he gives some examples. Similarly, when the Acharya teaches Veda to the students in the Gurukul, so because Veda is the knowledge of creation, so its examples he used to give from Puranas. With the help of Itihas and Purana, the history of creation, he used to elucidate and explain this knowledge. So, Yaj, Ved, Yaj, and Itihas and Purana. And our entire Vedic tradition says that everything developed in this country because of the Yajna itself. And Yajjat Sarvam Prasiddhati. Yajjat Sarvam Prasiddhati. All these Vedas and everything, they become Prasiddha because from that Yajna itself. And there is a mantra, Tasmat Yajjat Sarvahutaha Richaha Samani Jajjire Tasmat Yajus Tasmat Ajayataha Chandanshi Jajjire. He says that from this yajna, these richas originated, this yajus mantras originated, shama mantras originated, and the Atharva Veda originated. So what is this yajna? Because of which the development of Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samaveda system took place. So that Yajna was nothing but the process of creation. As I told, the Veda is the knowledge of creation, and it is based upon the creation itself. The process of creation when the creation took place, then only these three Vedas came into being. And how this process of creation took place in Vedic system, that is most important to understand, because further the seer says Agnir Rigvedaha, Vayur Yajurvedaha, Suryat Shamavedaha. So this Agni, Manu also says Agni Vayu Ravibhyas Trayam Brahma Sanatanam. He says that this Agni, Vayu, and Ravi, these are the three Snatana Brahmas, eternal Brahma. And Dudoha Yajja Siddhyaratham Rig Yaju Shama Lakshanam. For the Siddhi of Yajja, for the success of Yajja, these three were milked out from that Yajja. Dudoha Yajja Siddhyaratham Rig Yaju Shama Lakshanam. Rik, Yaju, and Sham named these mantras. They were driven out by this Yajna. And from Agni, Vayu, and Aditya. These three things are there, and based upon these three things, This Richas, Yajushas, and Savans, they were carved out, they were formed. So, what is this Agni? What is this Vayu? And what is this Aditya? This has we have to understand it. And just to understand them, we will have to understand the Vedic system of creation. Vedas talks about three tier system of creation, three-tier system we can say. And that three-tier system, it includes Bhu, Bhumi, Dyulok and Antariksha Loka. Dyava, Prithvi, Antariksha. This is the three-tier system of creation. So one is the Dyuloka, another is the Prithvi Loka, and in between, the space between them is the Antariksha Loka. This system applies in every solar system. In every solar system, there is a sun, there are planets, and there is a space between them, just like our Earth, the sun, and the space means magnetosphere of the Earth. So this protective shield of the Earth, this is Antariksha Lok. Similarly, when this whole universe, I'm not talking about one solar system, but the whole universe I'm talking about, when this universe was created, what happened? This universe also has the three-tier system. In the beginning, when there was no universe, only the space of Brahma was there. Space of Brahma, and that is known in the language of Vedanta, Chidakasha. Only Chidakasha was there because the only Chaitanya, Satta or existence was there. So from that Chidakasha, the Upanishad says, Tasmad Atmanaha Akashaha Sambhutaha. From that Chidakas, that Atman, Akash of Atman, this Bhutakash was created. Acharya Shankar, in his Vedanta Bhasha, he clearly talks about this Akash, what we call as Akash, as a Bhutakash. The Akash where the matter is there, where the energy particles are there, that Akash is known as Bhutakash. And in this Bhutakash, everything is being created. This material world is the creation of the Bhutakas, and Bhutakas is the creation of Chidakas. Everything exists in Chidakas, and one of the mantra, Purusha Sukta mantra of the Rig Veda, it clearly talks about that Paramavyoma. It talks about Paramavyoma, means that Chidakas itself, and it says, Pado Asya Bhavet Iha Punah Punah. In this Bhutakas, only the 25th part, only the 25% of energy is active in Bhutakas, and rest of the energy, 75% of the energy is inactive in Chidakas. And whenever, so when there are two Akashas, so there is interface between the two Akashas. That interface is known as Yajurveda, Vayu, or Indra. And this observer space, that Bhutakash, it is known as the space of Agni. The energy in Bhutakash is known as Agni, and energy in interface, that is known as Vayu, and energy in Chidakash, that is known as Aditya. So whenever the need is, this Bhutakas receives energy for its for get going from Chidakas itself. But if we leave it behind and we come to this our solar system itself, the Surya is Aditya, the this magnetosphere of Earth, which is going to protect us from the ultraviolet rays of the sun, that is the Vayu, and Indra uh, Loka or Antariksha Loka, and this Bhumi is Agni. So Yaska also says Agni is a Prithvi Sthaniya Devata. Agni Devata belongs to the earth, means the geothermal energy, because everywhere the energy is there, it's a play of energy. So earth, the geothermal energy is the Agni, and this mid spatial energy, that is known as Vayu or Indra, and the solar energy that is known as Aditya. So he says, based upon this Agni, the Rig Veda was formed. Based upon this interface, the Vayu Yajurveda was formed, and based upon the solar radiations, Shamaveda was formed. So this is known as a Traividyaha. But we know that there are four Sanghitas. One Sanghita, Yajurveda Sanghita, Rigveda, Yajurveda Sanghita, Rigveda Sanghita, Samaveda Sanghita, and Atharvaveda Sanghita. So mantras, when the Sanghitas were compiled, then the basis of compilation was different. When the basis of the nomenclature of Richaj, Yajusaj, and Samans was different. It was based upon Agni, Vayu, and Aditya. But when the Sanghita compilation took place, then the system of nomenclature was different. In Vedic tradition, it says Rig Archani, all ritas, which used to specify or narrate the property of some element in the universe or some devatas in the universe, those were known as ritas. So here I'll explain the word Dev and Devta later on. Let me explain these three things. And it says, Yat praslishtam patitam tat yaju. The prose type of narration, it was Yajurveda. All the mantras that has prose type of narration, they were known, they were compiled in Yajurveda Sangita. All the mantras, those have the chandas, composed of chandas, they were compiled as Yajurveda, and all the mantras, those could be attuned to the vibrations or cosmic vibrations or the samaganas, Gitisu Samakhya, they were called as Shamaveda. And all those mantras which belong to the living beings, they were called as Atharva Veda. So the three Vedas belong to the cosmic creation, and the Atharva Veda belongs to the living creation of living beings. They pertain to the human beings and so many other the social system that developed due to the living beings on the earth, that is addressed by Atharva Veda. So these are the four Sanghitas and three Trividya, three Vedas, one Ved. So this whole concept runs like that. Now, Veda is not one system. Ved has so many components. When we talk about a Vedic mantra, every mantra or every sukta, we can say every mantra has a devata, every mantra has a chanda, and every mantra has a rishi. Three things are there associated with the mantra. So every mantra will belong to some chanda, it will belong to some rishi, and it will belong to some devata. So what is devata? What is chanda? And what is rishi? This is most important to understand the Veda. Devata means the subject matter of the mantra. Whatever mantra wants to say or want to explain, that is known as Devata. And Vedic scholar Yaska, he says, Deva eva Devata. If somebody asks, what is Devata? He says, Dev is the Devata itself. But the question is, who is Deva? What is Deva? Then Yask explains, Devo Danatava, Dyotanatava, Dyusthano Bhavatitiva. All these heavenly bodies, which are located in celestial sphere, they are all Devas. Means the Devata, the subject matter of Vedas, either belong to any of these heavenly bodies, these natural forces, Devo Danatava. Whoever contributes to the society, to the nation, to the atmosphere, to the Prakriti, he is also Deva. A human being can also be a Deva. That is why the Upanishad says, Matri Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Pitri Devo Bhava, means mother, father, and Acharya, they are also devas because they are contributing for the development of the child. And even a commander or a emperor, ruler, or any person or a good donor, he is also Deva. So Vedic tradition appreciate the donors. It talks about the duties that every human being has his duty towards the society, towards family, towards nation, and towards this whole environment. That is why in the beginning I told dharma means duties, dharma means knowledge system, moral, ethical values. So all these devas who are contributing, they are known as devas. So mantras, they will address some of the devas, and those devas are the devatas. Devata means those devas are only the subject matter of the mantras. So, if we go through the four Sanghitas, we find some 850 subject matter of the various mantras. Total devatas of the mantras are around 850, between 850 to 900. And now, the second thing associated with the mantra is the Rishi. Who is the Rishi? The Yaska says Rishir Darshanata, a seer or a yogi who could visualize the true meanings of those mantras. They are the seers. You know, earlier the mantras, they were visualized by seers. Brahma, then Agni, Vayu, Aditya, Angira, they had a visualization or realization of this knowledge. Then they passed this knowledge to the further generations. And when the further generations, the future generations, they were not able to attain this knowledge through Shruti Parampara, then it was documented and those documents were handed down. But now the question is, when this whole knowledge was received by seers in Samadhi from this cosmos, then the very meaning of the mantras, what was the meaning of particular mantras? So the seers who could visualize that meaning of the mantras, they were called as seers. They were called as rishis, Rishir Darshanat. And third component of this Vedic system is the Chanda. Chanda, if we are able to understand the Chanda system, and if we know about the Chanda system, we will be able to know that these mantras were revealed to the seers on this earth itself, not on other planet or location. The meaning of chanda. What is the chanda? Generally, in Laukik Sanskrit, some meter, the people, the scholars, they translate chanda as the meter, that this is Gayatri meter, this is Anushtup meter, like that. But Yaska, while etymologizing the word chanda, he says, Sandhansi Vai Chadanata. Because the sun is covering earth, that is why these sandas are known. Sanda means covering. And who is covering? What? The sun is covering the earth. So there are 7 chandas starting from Gayatri till Jagati. And why the 7 chandas are there? Because the sun is covering earth at 7 places in the course of 1 year's revolution of the earth. Covering earth means sun rays are perpendicular on earth at 7 places in the whole 7 years, 1 year circle. How come? The first covering, that is known as Gayatri Chanda. And what is Gayatri Chanda? because the earth is tilted on its axis at 23 and a half degree. So when earth revolves around the sun rays falls perpendicular on earth from 23 and a half degrees south of equator to the 23 and a half degree north of the equator, and rest of the area of the earth there is no perpendicular light. Sun is not perpendicular on that. Only this area from equator 23 and a half degree north of equator and 23 and a half degrees south of equator, only this area is known as a Vishnu Loka. Yajna, Yajno vai Vishnu. Brahmankar says this area is only the place of Vishnu or the place of Yajna where the Yajna is taking place, and this area is known as Vedi. It says Etavati vai Prithvi Yavadi Veti because only this area the sun rays are falling on the earth directly. So this area is the Vedi. And why this area is the Vedi? And why this 23 and a half degrees south of equator, that is known as a Gayatri Chanda. That is known as line of Capricorn, or also known as a Makar Rashi or Makar Rekha, because the sun transits in the Makar Rashi during that period, or the line of Capricorn. And this Makar Rashi, why this was called Makar Rashi? It is a very famous festival, Makara Sankranti. When sun transits the Makar Rashi, the Makara Sankranti takes place. And what is the importance of Makara Sankranti? Makara Sankranti means Uttarayana starts. The the northward area of the earth, the northern part of the earth, they starts exposing to the towards the sun. So the Uttarayan starts, and this Uttarayan during Vedic period was the beginning of the year. If we study Vedanga Jyotish, Yajus or Arch Jyotish by Lagadha, we will find over there that the year used to start from Uttarayana, and this Gayatri Chanda is also representing that Uttarayana, and that is why the Gayatri mantra, you see, just say Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. It talks about the Savita, means the sun, because the sun rays, the earth will be exposed more to the sun. So the importance of Gayatri mantra is there. So this 23 and a half degree south of equator, that is known as a Makar Rekha or line of Capricorn, it was called as Gayatri Chanda. That is why Gayatri Chanda has 24 syllables. Means 23 and a half syllable is not possible. So Gayatri Chand is composed of 24 syllables. And on the upper side, if you go to the down extreme north, that is 23 and a half degree north. So from 24 degrees south to the 24-degree north, how much it will be? It will be 48 degrees. And Jagati Chand has 48 syllables, because that line of Karka, line of Cancer, that 21st June we call it, where the International Yoga Day is celebrated, that is known as a Jagati Chanda. So that has 48 syllables. That is why I am saying that this Vedic literature, this was revealed to the seer on this earth itself, not on any planet, because the whole symmetry of the chandas that goes with the system of the earth. So there are 7 chandas. First one is Gayatri, then Ushnik. Ushnik is 28 syllables. Then Anushtup, that 32 chanda. Then Brihati, 36 chanda. This equator is the Brihati chanda. And the Rig Veda, one of the mantra in the Rig Veda says, Vrihatim Adyudha Suryastapati. When the sun is on Brihati Chanda, on this Bhumadhya Rekha or equator, it tapati, it emits radiation, whole heat like anything, scorching heat it emits. So Vrihatim Adyudha Surya Stapati. So Vrihati Chanda has the 36 syllables. Then Pankati Chand 40, Trishtup Chand 44 syllables, and Jagati 48 syllables. So these are eight chandas. And these eight chandas are the seven covering, no, sorry, seven chandas. They are the seven coverings of the sun on the earth. On 21st December, the sun will be perpendicular at 23 and a half degrees south. Then on 21st January, the sun will be 20 degree south, perpendicular on earth at 20 degrees south. And on 18th February, sun will be 20 degrees south. And on 21st March, sun will be on the equator. On 21st April, it will be 12 degree north of the equator. On 21st May, it will be 12 degree north of the equator on 21st April, and 21st May, it will be 20 degree north of equator. On 21st June, it will be on 23 and a half degree north. So this is the whole system, and that is why, because the sun and earth meets at seven places in a year, in our marriage system there is a provision of saptapadi. Saptapadi means wife and husbands, they walk seven steps when their marriage takes place. And Kalidasa says in Kumara Sambhava, he says, when Shiva talks with the Parvati, Shiva says, Satam Sangatam Saptapadinam Uchyate. The Shiva says, Parvati, the friendship of the good person takes place while they walk seven steps together. So the friendship of earth and sun is taking place when they walk seven steps together. And the same thing was introduced in our marriage system. And this, because the whole Indian tradition, the whole Indian system, Vedic philosophy, it is integrated. All the six shastras, six darshanas, all Brahmana granthas, all Upanishad, they talk about only one thing. There is no controversy anywhere else. The need is to understand that string. One string goes through all the shastras. So there is a unified law. There is a unified law and the unified field. And that unified law is the Rita, known as a Rita, and the unified field is known as a Satya. Because this Prakriti, when the unified law of Rita is applied to the Prakriti, the whole creation takes place. This Prakriti becomes this some this equilibrium comes in the Prakriti, and this law of Rita, unified law of Rita, is the law of motion. Because when the God thinks about creation, it agitates the Prakriti in it. And when the agitation in Prakriti takes place, that creation, it disintegrates. Its Samyavastha is disintegrated, and Vikara appears. The Vishma Avastha appears, and that Vikara is known as evolution. In modern scientific term, this creation is evolution, but in Vedic scientific term, this creation is Vikara. It's a devolution. It's not evolution. It's the other way round. And the Prakriti, the dissolution is the evolution in terms of Vedic science. So there is a difference. Though Satya is a Prakriti, and the Vedic mantra is there, Ritaicha Satyaicha Vidhattapaso Dhyajayata. With the tapasa of the Brahman, this Rita and Satya are created. What is Rita? That law of motion. He just gives motion to everything, and when that motion takes place, that Prakriti, it appears. Before that, Prakriti was there in the Garbha of the Brahman. So this whole system is one system aligned with this one particular system of knowledge. So Vedas, they have their Shiyas, the rishis, they have their devatas and their chandas. Similarly, there are seven swaras are also there. We shall have to understand. When in the modern musical system, music learners, they when they talk about sare gama padhani, all these mantras, either they were written in sare gama padhani. These are the seven swaras, and these seven swaras, they are borrowed from the Vedas themselves. Sa means Shadaja Swara. Re means Raivata Swara. Sa re ga means Gandhara Swara. Sa re ga ma means Madhyama Swara. Ma pa Panchama Swara. Dhaivata Swara, Nitrita Swara. So seven chandas are there, seven swaras are there, and these swaras are the swaras of the Prakriti. They are not some artificial swaras, because every day there is a different swara at different timings. At Brahma Muhurt, the swar is different. During midday, the swar will be the different. So Prakriti has different swaras. So all these chandas, swara, devata, and rishi, they are associated with the mantra. So whole this entire system of knowledge, this is very much natural. It goes by the laws of the nature itself. You can understand the chanda is also the natural system, where the same cosmic system has been applied over there. So, if we want to understand Vedas, when we go further than the Sanghita, we find the Brahmana Granthas over there. Every Veda had its Brahmana. Brahma Vai Brahmanam means where the elucidation of the Vedas, those texts where the Vedas have been elucidated or explained further, those are known as Brahmanas. But we know this Vedic tradition, this Vedic tradition talks about the four Purushartha of the human being. We should not forget it. And those four Purushartha means objective of human life. You go anywhere in the world. No philosophy talks about the objective of the human life. This Western philosophy, this Western world, these people think the objective of the human life is to earn more and more money. I asked one student here in US when I was traveling in a bus. I asked him what are you doing. He told I'm just doing my 10th standard or so. Then I told, would you like to study further? Yes. He told, yes, I would like to study further. I asked him, why you want to study further? He told, if I'll study more, I'll earn more dollars. So the earning dollar is the objective of human life. But in Vedic system, it's not the human life. Human objective is different. And that objective is known as a Purushartha. The term, this Purushartha, appears just like some vague. People are not going to understand. Purush mane, Purush means human being, and Arth mane prayojan. The objective of the human life. What is the objective? And that objective has been told as dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The first objective is dharma. If you are not able to attain dharma, you can't do anything. So what is that dharma? That means those instilling moral, ethical values, knowledge, and how to discriminate between good and bad, all these qualities. Uh, these attainment of all these qualities, knowledge, value system, that is known as dharma. When you become dharmika in brahmacharya, and there are four avasthas, there are four stages, because every stage is for one objective of life, just to attain one objective. In brahmacharya avastha, a student becomes accomplished in dharma. When you become accomplished in dharma, then only you can go to the grihastha life. If you have not become accomplished in dharma, then you are not meant for the grihastha life, is not meant for you, because you will not be creating human beings, but the animal beings you will be creating. You will be uh, producing these terrorists and all these rowdy figures, and not good human beings. So dharma artha, based upon that dharma, you will have to earn the artha. Artha doesn't mean only this money or whatever the monetary system. Artha means whatever is required for furthering human life. All those means which are essential for a human being to live, those means are the artha. Then kama is there. All your mundane desires, mundane life desires, as well as the paramarthik kama. That is the third. And all these two are based upon dharma itself. If you have become dharmic, if you have attained dharma, then you will be understand everything. Nor you are not going to understand anything. And the last one is moksha. So the purpose of this creation has also been described. If we study Yoga Darshan, because we have Dr. Prabhu here, he excels in Yoga Darshan and himself a great yogi. In Yoga Darshan, Patanjali says, Tasya bhogap varagaratham. Why this srishti has been created by Brahman? He says, bhogap varagaratham, for the bhog of the soul and for the upvarg of the soul. Because this Atman, so that it may do the bhoga of Prakriti, that is why this has been created. And after that, he may attain moksha, apavarga. How he will do bhog, how he will enjoy the Prakriti? We know there are five elements. Panchabhutas in the Prakriti is made up of five elements: Prithvi, Jal, Agni, Vayu, Akash. And if we want to, how we can enjoy this Prakriti? Only the enjoyment can take place with the sense organs. So there are five sense organs in a human beings. Each sense organ will help you enjoy each of the bhuta. So this human species, the highest developed species. Had there been six elements in this creation, the God would have given six sense organs to us. So this Prakriti, the prayojan, the objective is this creation, is the bhoga of the Atma, so that this Atman may do bhoga or enjoy it. And when the Atman will do the bhog of a Prakriti, will enjoy Prakriti, what will it have? At last, what will happen? If you are more intellectual and you have attained dharma, then you will be able to understand, yeah, this material life is nothing. Something is beyond that. Ah, Nistraygunno Bhavarjuna, the same thing will come. And then a human being, the movement of the human beings will not be the external world. They start moving inside, and that inside movement is known as Tada Drishtu Swarupe Avasthanam. That at that stage, a yogi will be able to realize his true nature. True nature. What is the true nature? A person is not a body, is not a mind or some thought process. He is the spiritual element. That thing will be understood by it. So this whole system, this Vedic system, it's going to support that system, because the very purpose of the knowledge or the Vedas is the upliftment of the human being. And this upliftment of a human being is possible only through this Vedic system. So all Brahmanas are there after Vedas. In Brahmana Granthas, after Brahmana Granthas, we get the Aranyakas. Just like Brahmanas, they will deal with all the three aspects of the knowledge: Adhyatmic, Adhitaivik, and Adhibhautik. Then after that, a slow progress is going on. We are going to move you towards the moksha. In Aranyaka, only that Vanaprastha life, a human being will live a Vanaprastha life, and he will try to dissociate himself from this Grihastha life. And Upanishad is the last of the Vedas, the last phase of the Vedas, and Upanishad will deal with entirely to the Brahman, the moksha, jivatman. So these issues will be dealt with in Upanishad, and that is why he says Vedanta. Upanishad are known as Vedanta, and the tradition says Vedanto nam Upanishad Pramanam. What is Vedanta? Vedanta is based upon the evidence of the Upanishad. So this Sanghitas are the granthas of Dharma, then Brahmana Artha system, Aranyaka, whatever your Kama system, it will fulfill, and the Moksha system will be fulfilled by Upanishad. So this whole tradition is there, starting from Vedas, ending with Upanishad, and they have their help books, because no book, if it is without a help book, it can be understood. So there are six Vedangas. Six Vedangas. First Vedanga Shiksha, Vyakaran, Nirukta, Kalpa, Jyotish, like Dharma Sutras, Shulva Sutras, Shauta Sutras. So the Kalpa. Six Vedangas are there and six Darshanas are there. The dual system is there. One is Yoga, another is Sankhya, the dual. Sankhya teaches us how to soul gets body gets embodied. Then yoga will tell you how the soul gets embodied, how the soul can come out of the body. Nyaya is the methodology, research methodology we call it. Then Vaisheshik is the physics of the universe, this metaphysics and physics of universe. Vedanta is particularly devoted to the Brahman aspect, and the Mimamsa, the karma theory is there. So this is how the whole aspects of the life, they have been introduced into this Vedic system. And I think if we are able to, if we want to understand the Sanatan Dharma, its basis is the Vedas, Vedic system of life. And during this course, as I have gone through the contents last time also, very well, so beautifully, all these aspects have been further explained. My lecture was just the introductory one, and you will find more details regarding science and dharma and so many things on Bhagavad Gita in Yoga in further lectures. So, with these words, uh, I withdraw myself and I thank the organizers, Professor CSR Prabhu, Colonel Sahab, and all these participants who are going to attend this some great course, I think.
So I'm so thrilled, Ravi
Um,
Prakash Aryaji. I have no words to express our happiness and excitement, and the way you have presented in a short period of time the entire knowledge system of the Vedas, Vedangas, Darshanas. It is amazing. Nobody can compare or equal to you. Hats off to you. We look forward for future interactions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Arya Saab. Thank you for giving us the beautiful introduction to the Vedas, especially the scientific angle, which this course is trying to target. What is science in Vedas? That aspect you have clearly brought out in every aspect of your talk today. And this will continue in all topics which are going to follow. And there are some students, participants who want to interact with you. We have another 5 minutes. So those people who want to interact with the speaker can raise their hand digitally, and I will unmute you so that you can ask the question. So one of the participant is asking, can you suggest any reference material which will help them to understand the topic better?
Yeah, in fact, recently I have written a book, Introduction to the Vedas. And I think that will help you a lot. in understanding this entire Vedic system, how to interpret them, because there are so many schools of interpretation: Nairukta school, Itihasa school, Yajikas. So just the modern interpretations as well as ancient interpretations. So and how you can uh, reach, or you can ascertain that this is the correct interpretation. So on that, after this first course was conducted, then I was asked by Prabhuji to bring some material, study material for students. Then I just published one book, Introduction to the Vedas, and that is available on Amazon easily. And more, there are no such authentic books. In fact, the scholars, they have done a lot of work, but not so authentic work. The all Every book is more confusing, creates more confusion rather than clarity. So I think if you I have just given you a direction. If you will follow that direction, I think you will be able to understand the Vedic system better.
Yes, sir. Can you give the reference of the book so that people will?
That is Introduction to the Veda. Book's title is Introduction to the Veda. And if on Amazon you will write my name, Ravi Prakash Arya, or this book, it will be easily available.
Thank
Ravi
you, sir.
Prakash Arya.
Thank you, sir. So Gupta Chepuri, he would like to interact with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Namaskar.
Yeah.
Namaskar. You have mentioned there are 7 sanjas, starting with Gayatri Sanja,
Yeah.
having 24 syllables, and then
Yeah.
28 syllables,
Yeah.
32, 36, 40, 44, and
Yeah.
48.
Yeah.
But when I am adding all the syllables, it is not coming to 360. I thought it will be coming to 360 degrees.
No, syllables, these are the fixed syllables. A Gayatri mantra, Gayatri Chand is written in 24 syllables itself. So the syllables cannot be 360, because as I told, had I made some picture, if the circle is there, only there are 7 steps. 24-degree south and 24-degree north. So between this 24 south and 24 north, every 4 number you will add, it will make 48. So 24 for 28, like that, and till Jagati it will become 48. So the chandas, Jagati chanda in a way, it has 48 syllable also, and Vrihati 36 chanda. So this is the chanda actually the mantras have been written. So it's not some hypothetical concept that I am giving, because Gayatri Chanda has 24 syllables, Vrihati 36, Jagati 48. So I am just trying to tell how this Chanda syllable system was fixed for the Chandas.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Gupta ji. And now we'll have Dharmendra. Okay, let me unmute him.
Namaskaram, Guruji. In the beginning, when the Vedas are formed, it is spoken or written, sir?
No, actually, in the beginning, neither they were spoken nor written. The seers, they visualized them, just like a deaf and dumb person is there. When he sees something, he enjoys it. So that knowledge was enjoyed by them. But then they pass it on further to the seers who could not imbibe it. And it was through oral instructions. It was spoken. And after that, the written tradition started. And this has been said by the Yaska himself, the Nirukta, author of Nirukta.
If it was written, it was in Sanskrit?
Yeah, in the same language, Sanskrit itself.
How did it derive? Sanskrit, how does it derive from the Vedas, sir?
Yeah.
Sanskrit, how did it derive from the Vedas? Sanskrit language.
Actually, from the Vedic Sanskrit itself, this Sanskrit language came. And regarding the Sanskrit, it is said, Sanskritam nam Daivi Vak Anavakhyata Maharshibhi. This language is the divine language that was further explained grammatically by the scholars. When these Vedas were revealed, because the grammar doesn't come first, the language will come first, and based upon the language of the Vedas, the grammatical system was developed because each and every vocable of the Veda, it was grammatically defined by the seers, and the first definer, the first grammarian was the Maheshwara, Shiva. Maheshwara Sutra, they are known, and after that it was Brihaspati, and this tradition came up to Panini, and it is as Samudravata Vyakaranam Maheshware Tad Ardha Kumbhodharanam Brihaspatau Bhaga Bhagat Gatam Purandare Vindut Patitam Hi Paninav. So the four grammarians are there in tradition. First one Maheshwara, then Brihaspati, then Indra, and after that Panini. In the Maheshwara's Vyakaran was just like the ocean, because all each and every word he tried to explain. Then if you have a half of the picture from the ocean, the Vyakaran of a Brihaspati was equal to that half of the picture. And uh, only one part of that half of the picture is the Vyakaran of Indra. And only a drop, if you take a drop of water from that pitcher, the Vyakaran of Panini is equal to that drop, because by the time of Panini, the whole system was summarized into uh, these sutras, and maximum forms of Sanskrit, means their conjugations, their declined forms, they became they became out of vogue. In Vedic time, it were some billions of the words were there, but by the Panini's time, the millions of the words remain in vogue. So this is how the language also went on diminishing. And now we have very few words which are being spoken and written in Sanskrit. So the earlier Sanskrit was a very vast literature. Then this literature continued to reduce. So the from Vedas itself, the language came.
Okay, sir, you said mantras for gods.
The mantra,
Mantras are gods.
yeah, they are known as Brahma. Brahma means that they
So
are the
obviously
knowledge of.
Vedas constitutes all mantras.
Yeah. Vedas means mantras.
So
And
Vedas are gods.
yeah, we can say, because that is the knowledge of God. We can't say God, because dharma and dharmi, there are two things. Vedas are dharma, and their dharmi means where the dharma will reside, in its dharmi, that is God. The
So
knowledge.
obviously Dharma is a god then.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, let's have BRC Murthy garu.
Okay. Is there any book available with summary of just Vedas? Because we can anyway study or learn or utter, chant or anything, but at least okay, can we have any book or online with summary of the Vedas?
I think you have already covered this.
Actually,
Yeah.
you can study some of the literature, Vedas translation by Aurobindo. You will find something good things over there. Translation by Maharshi Dayananda Saraswati. You will find some good interpretation over there. And some more scholars, if they have tried, you can find out. But so far, I couldn't find. Means meaning is there, literal meaning has been done, grammatical meanings have been done, but the interpretation, the real thing is the interpretation. The word is Agni. If you call Agni as Agni, then it's not an interpretation. Or if you will call Agni as the fire, so that is also a wrong interpretation. So the Agni, what is the intended sense? If we want to see that, so then translation of Aurobindo will help you to some extent, Kapali Shastri and Swami Dayananda Saraswati. But that is also in Hindi and quite confusing. Swami Dayananda's translation is also quite confusing. If you know Sanskrit better, then its Sanskrit part, it can make some sense.